Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So I do apologize. The video that was supposed to come out this morning for the series that we're running for this next 3 days, that just landed on my foot. I don't know what happened to it. Recorded it, uploaded it, but for some reason in the transition, and I'm not able to explain at this point in time, it didn't go through. And I didn't know about it until I went to check on a couple things online, and I noticed that it wasn't uploaded. So I'm going to have to remake it because I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, so we are here to talk about the mini-series that we're currently running, which is the Alternate Universe Returns. So the first one I did of this nature, I took 5 bands, and I took the 5 vocalists of the bands and I rotated them around so that they were in other bands, and then we discussed that as an alternative. This time I've decided, instead of doing that same scenario, I wanted to try something just a tiny bit different. So I've taken what I call 5 scenarios that had some basis in reality, that there was some form of, either there was an audition or people talked about it or people are talking about it now, whatever. And we're going to do an alternate on that. So we've done 2 at this point. The first one was on Tony Iommi, who originally auditioned with Jethro Tull and for whatever reason didn't get the job or didn't want the job, or maybe they had difference of opinion, not really sure. But in the alternate universe, he actually joins, and if you want to see that, you can go back and watch the first episode. The second episode, also kind of a similar event. Elton John auditions as basically a nobody for King Crimson and doesn't get the job, but in this universe, he does. So this is the third of the installments, similar type of thing. Stephen Stills this time auditions for the Monkees to get a part on the TV series. Now, this one's a little bit different because it is a TV series. I'm just going to lower this a bit because I feel like I'm out of whack here. My mic is kind of got in the corner here. Anyways, Stephen Stills auditioned to be one of the parts on the Monkees. Obviously, it would be the guitar player. So in this case, I think that was Mike Nesmith. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Peter Tork was the bass player. And Mickey Dolenz, I know, was the drummer. And Davy Jones, of course, vocalist, tambourine player. Did he play keyboards? I can't remember. I don't remember seeing him play any. I don't think he did. Anyways, so Stephen Stills would have applied for the job that Mike Nesmith had. So in this scenario, he applies. And originally what happened, if we're doing the Watcher thing from Marvel Universe, the Watcher says, in the original formation of this, the person went their own way. But in this formation, in alternate universe, this happened. And Stephen Stills ended up being one of the people who got a part for the position of guitar player in the band, the Monkees. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Monkees were a TV series that took place in the 1960s. They were kind of America's answer to the Beatles. So the Americans decided, you know what, the Beatles were so huge and so big in Great Britain and over here, they thought they could create another set of circumstances that would allow for another Beatles. Now, they were just basically going to make a TV series about the Beatles kind of thing, but they called it the Monkees, and it was basically the same type of arrangement and everything, but it got much bigger than they thought it was going to be. It took on a life of its own, basically, and what originally happened is that the people in the band, notably Peter Tork and Mike Nesmith, decided that, we want to make our own music. We think we can do our own music, forgetting that they were not hired as musicians but as actors to do a part in a TV series, and the TV network and executive producers and all that already had the songs they wanted them to sing. They had come up with the idea of his pop band, very similar to the early Beatles stuff, and they were going to pursue this. But as it got more life and they got bigger, the members of the band decided they wanted to be a real band, so this was at odds with the TV show. So, but in this universe, it's Stephen Stills who ends up taking Mike Nesmith's position. So would he be as strong of a component for the Monkees to be write their own material and do their own thing? I think he would. I think he might even be more strong on that because he has excellent writing skills. He came from Buffalo Springfield. He went on to be in CSN and then CSNY. So he has a lot of that country, folk, rock music background. And I would have to say if he got into this show, he would probably end up as being the leader because he was the one that knew the most about the music. Yes, Peter Tork had some abilities as well, but I don't think he was in the same category as Stephen Stills would obviously be in. So I think, the same kind of revolt would probably take place. However, at some point the show decided to cancel, and that would have been the end of it, except for with Stephen Stills being at the helm here now. I think this band would have went on tour and become a big band. Maybe not necessarily as big as they were as a TV show, but they would have been well known because of him and because of the music they would have produced. Now, would they have stayed with the type of music they produced for the show, or would they have done something else? I think initially they would have stayed with that type of music to try and gain some traction out there in the music world. Probably could have got a record label for sure because of who they were, as long as they stayed with that. But I'm assuming that at some point they would challenge that and start wanting to go off in these other directions. Maybe they become more psychedelic, or maybe they would become more like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, or maybe they would just completely change their music altogether. I would have to say with Davy Jones being the kind of front man here because of his looks and his vocal sound, they would probably try to wrap something around that. So you might end up with a kind of a poppy, maybe a poppy kind of bluesy, maybe even a Jefferson Airplane type sound to their music. I'm not sure, But at any rate, I think they would have stayed together for a bit of time, at least until their popularity waned. So maybe 2 or 3 years after the Monkees TV show, their popularity might start to wane, and then you might see breakup, where you might see the differences of musical opinions between Peter Tork and Davy Jones, Mickey Dolenz, and Stephen Stills. So Stephen Stills, of course, I think would have gone back to what he was going to do originally, but now with a face, he would be in much stronger position to get what he wanted. Davy Jones, I think, is an actor. He's not really a singer, but he has that voice and that look. I think he could have toured by himself and done Monkees covers and done very well for himself, I think. Mickey Dolenz, I'm not sure. I don't know that he was a drummer to begin with. More of an actor, I think. But the drumming, the Monkees type of stuff wouldn't have been as hard. Maybe him and Davey would have stayed together and done stuff. Peter Tork, on the other hand, I'm not sure where he would have went. He had some musical abilities and talents, but whether it was enough to really get him anywhere, I suspect it probably wouldn't be, because if it was, he wouldn't have tried to get this position in the first place. But, having said that, Stephen Stills went and auditioned for this part as well, and he certainly had more than enough skills to go further than he was. So it's interesting to see what might have happened. My guess is that the Monkees would have continued for a bit and then broke up and did their own kind of things for a while. Maybe somewhere when the Monkey revival started sometime in the 90s, which I think is when it did, you might see these guys all come back together and tour as more of a band than as a TV prop show. So that's where I think it probably would go, and I would be interested in this. I did like the Monkees, I have to say. I did like Peter Nesmith, but I definitely think Stephen Stills would have definitely had a huge impact here. So anyways, I hope you've liked this episode of Alternate Universe Returns. If you did, please like and subscribe. and hit the notification bell above, and in comments about this arrangement, you can put, maybe you have a totally different view on it. I would be interested in hearing anybody's totally different views as well, because that gives me food for thought for other videos. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this, and this will probably come out later than it originally had planned, only because of the circumstances. I'm hoping that everybody will forgive me for that. I'm not even sure what happened, really, but I'll upload this as soon as I'm able to, and we will see you tomorrow for the regular mini-series returns. Tomorrow we'll be doing Peter Criss and Led Zeppelin. Yes, people will say, where did that come from? Well, let me tell you, we'll get into that tomorrow. So take care and have a good one. Goodbye.